Second half of the season, and now it's a countdown to what some may say the inevitable, but there are still a number of roadblocks along the way. We are in for a petit Le Mans here today as we get ourselves set and sorted. The Dallara P217s are out in LMP2 colour, and we are set at Road Atlanta. This is where you're going to get some amazing races to come through. My name's Jake Sperry, along with the ride, John Harris as per usual. The old school crew is back in full display, and John, we are looking so good for amazing racing to come along here from Road Atlanta. 50 laps today with some of the quickest machinery out there, or the second quickest endurance machinery out there. We should be in for a treat.
Oh yeah, what is there not to love about this? You know, Road Atlanta, LMP2, that combo with the high downforce and the bumpiness of the circuit. It's going to be difficult to master, but it should provide a really good driving experience for our drivers, and indeed viewing experience when they inevitably get it wrong.
It should do, and of course with a frenetic circuit like this, which has so many pitfalls, so many difficulties, I look at that opening sector as one of the toughest opening sectors in all of World Motorsport. That run down through the S's and back up again to the notoriously tricky turn 5 out on track. You are always staring at that corner thinking, please don't let it be me that's spinning to the inside or crashing to the outside.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you get it wrong early in the S's and you're in trouble. You get it wrong late in the S's, you're in trouble. Basically anywhere around that point. And then just to end off the lap, you've got a very tricky chicane, downhill braking, and then the downhill corner to end off the lap. I mean, it's got everything to challenge you on this one. And so in qualifying especially, it's going to be that razor-thin line that gets you to a pole position. But if you get it wrong, as you say, it could be costly.
Let's take a look at our calendar then and see where we've come from and what we've still got left to go as far as this season goes. You can see we're on the right-hand side now of the screen with your LMP2 battling at Road Atlanta. This is going to be the last of the road course races in the United States, with trucks tackling Brands Hatch for Rallycross before Classic F1 finishes us off at the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit. But with this in mind, this probably, for drivers who have done well over the course of this season so far, is the last great chance to make it happen. Because as we know, John, when we go to ovals, Las Vegas and, of course, Indianapolis for Special Event 3, it is very much a different scenario compared to, say, driving on the road, and they don't get an authentic road experience until the finale.
Put it this way, there are specialists of oval racing in, real life motorsports, and there's a good reason for that. It requires just being 110% committed, and so I think maybe a few drivers will just try and secure points. Seeing as it's a special event, they might just go for it for the Indy 500. Everybody else does, and then you've got some outlandish stuff to end out the season. So I wouldn't say it's over in terms of points at all so far.
No, I certainly wouldn't. And let's talk championship then. As far as those points go, it has been a wonderful season concocted by Kamikaze in complete control at the top of the standings. 1,806 plays the 1,395 of Spark, so is clear by over a race margin at the moment. But as we know, in this summer shakeup, that could change in the blink of an eye, the way that points go. Aidan Pohl, currently in third, is wanting to bring into players. Brendan Hyperstar not here, neither is Aerotech and Alex Gillen. So Strasner is in fifth in the championship with a chance to move up to fourth. Supreme can go up to eighth position. Matt 212 can move up from ninth, and Ancephalosis currently rounding out your top 10. Small field today, and it's worth noting why it's a small field, because a lot of your iRacing creators are en route to the Schaumburg Convention Center in Chicago for amazing action at Sim Gaming Expo, which of course iRacing proves to be a pivotal sponsor of, which of course I had the joys of covering the Challenge Series, which was presented by Simacube, the qualifiers that set things up to go to racing. So there'll be some wonderful racing there if you're going there, but it does mean that there are great chances for those who are maybe a bit out of the points to go and score.
This is a big opportunity, I'd say, for Matt 212 to get himself up the order in terms of points. relatively high downforce cars require a lot of commitment, a bit like the Formula cars that he's used to driving. So this is a big opportunity, and it will always be sort of interesting to see how that P2 fight in the championship will go, because at the moment, I mean, it's anybody's game right there, and any one of them could catch Kamikaze at the top of the standings if he has a few unlucky races. So, this is going to be down to the wire, in my opinion, and there's going to be a lot of drivers wanting to prove that they have what it takes to put it on pole and indeed to win the race.
Yeah, and we're just moving on into qualifying at this moment in time. For those who are joining us, of course, on iRacing, welcome on in. And those, of course, who are with us with the Creator Series as well. We've got some amazing action about to fire on in. 15 minutes worth of qualifying to set up, meaning that everyone has got to position themselves well as far as their efforts are foretold. We've got 14 drivers here today looking to prove that their pace is going to be on a level higher than everyone else. And, well, no better place to start than with car 83, Ryan L83 out there, still looking very dapper like a snooker professional out there. And, of course, very near and dear to our hearts, the home of World Snooker in terms of where their offices are kept, are Bristol.
I did not know that. Well, that is a good thing to know, because that's where I used to be as well. So yeah, a lot of history and facts coming together from various different sports across the board. But as you can see by a brief off track there at turn 5 at the end of the S's, Blueberry getting the tyres warmed up could take them a couple of laps, as we've got cars off left, right and centre for the moment. But yeah, they're just warming up the tyres, getting ready to go out on their qualifying laps. But it just proves how snappy the car can be sometimes when you've not got everything up to temperature, and how you have to be a little bit patient and not necessarily fighting for position when you queue up your qualifying session, as they say.
Well, we are going to have Nick Pakin out there racing today, and it's going to be known as the unsafety car. So unsafe here today, John, that the unsafety car is in an LMP2 and will be out there and running. So ultimately, a case for Nick of what can I do? The unsafety car has a legitimate chance of winning today.
Well, Ancephalosis going off the Nyan Cat livery. I do love that one, just proving how slippery it is. But yeah, I think there's a lot of drivers that would probably hail a LMP2 safety car for a lot of events. It would allow them to keep going at a fast rate of knots, and yeah, I'm sure they'd be very happy with that. But this time it's a competitor, so maybe they're not so enthusiastic as they would be, as I know Nick is a very fast driver. As we're just doing the rundown of all of the drivers and their liveries right now, so that you and both ourselves also in the commentary box have a good eye in for liveries and who is driving what liveried car.
Yeah, so looking with Sparks then through turn 3, now down 4, and this is the S's section. Down the bottom of the hill, climbing back up again, and find your marker for turn 5. Mind the curb on the inside, heavily mind the curb on the outside. It's so easy to spit you out. Up and over the bumps, and these two right-handers are inconspicuous. It's on camber for turn 6, it's off camber for turn 7, and as you exit turn 7, you've got the long overtaking place on the circuit through the small left kink of turn number 8. There's a small right kink of turn 9 as Strasner sets the fastest lap, which is immediately beaten by the unsafety car by a second and a half. Nick Pakin with some great time, but out of 9, 10A and 10B. Downhill braking zones, we switch to Supreme for a moment here for this braking zone. You've got to make sure that you hit your marks fantastically through the left, through the right, and then on the exit you got two right-handers under the Fox Factory Bridge for turn 11 and then turn 12, which ends the lap at 240 kilometers an hour over the line. A 113.7 from Supreme, good enough for 4th.
Two things to really note about this track: the bumpiness, which you can really see from this camera as you go over the crests, and sometimes you've got to also be aware of the curbs, because some of them you can go over, some of them you can use them on the entry and exit as well to get you a bit more track space. For example, this last chicane, pretty easy on the curves, but for the right-handers of turn 6, turn 7, for example, it can really send you off into a spin, or if you take too much curb on the inside, you just have to back out of the corner. So very tactical track as Butcher goes fastest now by 0.6 of a second. So a great lap, and he's immediately onto the grass, demonstrating how you can take it flat out, but you've got to be really, really careful. Very well recovered, though. He'll be able to carry on after that.
Speaking of that, Ryan L83 and Killer Cleo, we just saw a quick look at Killer Cleo there. The two have come together, and she's trying to just get herself around at the moment after she's been rear-ended by the looks of things out there on track. So she'll be looking to just reset the car back to pits, go back out again and make it happen. And that's one of the cool things I think about sim racing, is you have the opportunity to say, yeah, I got into an incident, but I can reset the car, I haven't damaged it, I can try and go again. But that here for Ryan L83, this is going to be at turn 3, where the troubles all form themselves up as Sparks goes quickest then on a 1:12.1 through the opening corner. Now, Killer Cleo has struggled a bit for pace this season, hits the brakes, overcommits on the apex, and then effectively Ryan just runs into the back with nowhere to go. Project Valorous there, finding out that discretion would have been the better part of it.
I think it was just an unfortunate incident where I don't think Ryan was expecting Killer Cleo to lift off there, and yeah, just when your car's halfway in the air, it's very difficult to get on the brake. So an unfortunate one, but as you said, they have the ability to just reset to go again, and that's what the beauty of sim racing is, that even if you don't have 100% confidence, you can still participate and have a good experience, because it's not all on the line. Your weekend isn't over if you have one accident, so that is really, really nice. Aiden Paul looking to maybe have a little bit more luck and just maybe get himself a little bit more points difference to try and get up to that P2 in the clear, as they say. So he's on a very good turn of pace these last few rounds, and it'll be good to see him challenge once again at the front, I have no doubt, but yet to put a lap on the board. No, P4, I've just had the update. So yeah, very competitive time, but very... Oh, Ryan off again, unfortunately. So that's the second lap in a row that has been kind of wiped off of the board, and that's a little bit of pressure now mounting with 8 minutes to go.
Bedrock Zoo in control, running the Solpec Precision Racing colours, which is a very good indicator of pace of speed, being a part of Solpec running through and being 1.5, nearly 2/10 clear, only driver so far into the 1:11. So Bedrock Zoo, first run in this series, is having a wonderful start to things with the car currently on top, and we are, of course, knocking on the door of being halfway through this session. Sparks in second, Blueberry in third, and Kamikaze, your championship leader, down in fourth position. It's not often that you get to hear that. There's the fastest doggo in sim racing. Blueberry in third position, working away through out of turn 7 and looking to charge through towards 8, 9, and then 10A, 10B.
Really different driving style between qualifying and the race. You can see here in qualifying, they're all getting on throttle as soon as possible, lighting up the rear tires to mitigate the understeer. But in the race, you will get some overheating happening after a few laps. So it's going to be a tactical race. Maybe we'll see some different strategies in that regard. And looking at the weather conditions at the moment, it looks pretty clear. So drivers will be pushing. Track temperature not too high though, so that is very good in terms of tire temperatures. As Blueberry crossed the line, I don't think they improved. So, yes, no improvement so far. And it looks like a lot of drivers just struggling to get past their initial laps, as Encephalosis did improve to P12, and Joshua's, after moving up to, I think it was P11, has now dropped to P13. So improvements are happening across the board, as we have a new fastest lap by Bedrock Zoo, as if he needed to prove his point anymore.
1:11.879. That now puts it almost 3/10 clear of the rest of the field. Matt 212 currently in 8th. And the thing we talk about, of course, with drivers struggling to get tyre temperature in, is that these drivers have a cold track, and these tyres do take 3 to 4 laps to get into their best operating window because of the endurance update that has been done to the tyre model. So those Michelin tyres, that certainly won't help. That will be lap invalidated as Killer Cleo spins off in front. She's still yet to put a time on the board, and she is certainly in struggle street at the moment. So Encephalosis will now look to set off and get a lap time sorted here, and having a little look from the void goes Encephalosis into turn 1.
Hopefully he isn't sent into the void at any point during this race, but we know Ancephalosys likes to drive the car quite aggressively in any type of corner. We saw in other series how he's just committed all the time, and I love that from any driver, to just go for it and see what happens. That's the beauty of sim racing after all. And it looks like he's taking relatively conservative lines, I think, just wanting to improve on his initial lap time, or maybe even just warming up the tires still. Still 5 minutes to go, so as you said, maybe if they have to do 3 or 4 laps to warm up the tires, this is just a warm-up lap. It looks like he's looking to let somebody go here. So yeah, probably just a lift and coast lap to make sure that everything's up to temperature. But it does mean that anybody who wants to set a fast lap, they have to be out on track right now. And we are seeing an improvement from Blueberry that I can see on the split at the moment. So they're approaching the chicane as well for turn 10 here. Braking down, it's thankfully in a straight line, but you almost have to trail brake a huge amount into the chicane, carrying the speed, and then over the crest, so keep it flat as possible. This should be flat for an LMP2 car, but if you get it wrong, it's going to end up in the barrier across the line. Is it an improvement? No, it wasn't actually. Yeah, looking at the time, maybe some time lost in the chicane there.
Yeah, that was difficult to deal with, a 112.9, and with traffic in front like Chesnoy Gaming and Ancephalosys, I doubt this one's going to be an improvement either. You can see the wheelwork there live with Blueberry on the screen there on the right-hand side you did, and that's a really good indicator of the amount of wheelwork that will go through as the course of racing will progress. Of course, those 50 laps, if all things go as is foretold, we're expecting this one to be done in round about an hour or so, so that will be quite key, as Sparks currently second, Blueberry third, Kamikaze fourth, and Aiden Pole in 5th place. Joshy Murs in 12th position, 113.3 with that lap. Kind of a little bit lonely with that qualifying time, 4/10 off of Nick Pakin in the unsafety car, and about, 9/10 of a second clear of Chesnoy Gaming. Look at the traffic.
Look at the contrast in times as well, from P3 all the way down to P7. It's basically 2 or 3/10 of a second difference between them all. But yeah, this is disaster for qualifying. It's almost better if one of them backs off, as yeah, they did. I think that was Chesnoy backing off there, as I've got Blueberry, and I think that's Ancephalosys in front. So yeah, Blueberry will want to get past Ancephalosys, dives up the inside and has to slam on the brakes in avoidance. That was not going to end well, and that's Killer Cleo there off to the left, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on. Perhaps some equipment issues, because normally they're very consistent and able to get a time on the board, but there you go. Not happening, at least to their advantage today, it's safe to say.
A prime example there, John, as Ryan L83 goes second, 112.139 from the ether. What a time that is. But that Blueberry incident, trying to lunge down the inside of Ancephalosys at turn 3, is one of the places you can get the move done, but a very key understanding of overcooking it through and rear locking.
Yeah, it just shows how difficult it is on the brakes. Ryan L83, this used to be his bread and butter. He used to do this week in, week out, if not multiple times a week on iRacing. And so it's just one of those things where he will feel, after a few laps, just at one with the car. He's had very little practice just jumping in after fixing a few internet issues for himself. And so I think we'll see his pace improve steadily. I mean, although I'm saying that, I'm looking P2 already. If he improves any more, he'll be definitely challenging very easily for victory here today. So it's going to be so interesting, because some people will have the quali pace, and then in the race they won't be able to manage the tires as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see. Also, worth noting, let's say, that it's going to be at least a one-stop race.
Well, for these drivers, having a look around, it is one thing to keep in mind above all else. Is that the top 11 are split by 9/10 of a second out there, which makes it a very close race. Aiden Pole in 6th position, a driver who has a win so far this season, is looking to go points hunting and points scoring. Is going to be one of those drivers that looks at Kamikaze in front that 0.5 of a second and go, can I push the barrier? The one issue he's got with 1:20 left in qualifying, John, is Kamikaze, who's directly behind, picking up a toe.
Yeah, and also just messed up that turn 7, just getting understeer, and then had to go on throttle to provoke oversteer, and just lost maybe 1 or 2 tenths there all the way down the straight. As you say, there is Kamikaze getting a huge tow as well. Not sure if he's on a good lap. Let's have a look at the timing board. Looks like Kamikaze is about 2 seconds off his personal best, so actually Kamikaze will be saying please get a move on here, and he might lift off, but it looks like no, he's carrying on with the tow. There shouldn't be too much of a problem being in the tow through the corners. Might be an advantage because these cars do have quite considerable downforce from the floor, so being in dirty air isn't as detrimental to a lap time. But be interesting to see, because having a car in front of you in qualifying is always distracting, especially if they get it wrong or they take a different line to yourself.
Well, Punju here, who is 7th position overall, is looking at that clock, and he's going to be very close here towards getting 1 extra lap in on the board. Currently in 7th position, and looking around, seeing, well, I'd love to be close to Aiden Pole and Kamikaze, who has now jumped up into that 5th position. You want to try and find it. 5 seconds on the clock. There will be 1 more for Punju. With a 12.8, that won't improve. Blueberry will be the first one to the line then, and what can they do as they cross? Answers are nothing. So Ancephalosis will be next to the stripe. Nothing there. Chesnoid, it's a 15.3, no improvements. Matt 212's in the gravel and won't improve, so we go to Aiden. Whoa, big wreck for Matt 212. Aiden Pole is looking for that improvement now and trying to move past Kamikaze, his main rival in the championship. 12.285 down to 100th, no more. Ryan L83 couldn't improve. Kamikaze down in the pits. Sparks to the line, doesn't get anything. Joshima's looking for something, and then we wait for Punju. That's how the end of qualifying will go. Bedrock felt very comfortable with that 1/4 second margin, and it shows. Joshima's over to the line, crosses in the VR, and gets nothing from that lap. So it's down to you, Punju, if you want to move on better than a 12.4, and to get onto the top 3 rows, it's 2 tenths that's needed to find that improvement under the Fox Factory Bridge, which is the entrance to the circuit, down the hill here in Braselton, Georgia, and to the line. Punju, 12.164 is good enough for 5th.
What a late improvement. That was good. Brilliant commitment through the chicane there. We just saw the last bit of it on camera, and it looked like he had a great first sector there through the S's. So a lot of optimism right there. So here are the results of qualifying. Bedrock Zoo first place with Ryan L83 lining up alongside. Sparks and Blueberry will be on row 2, with Punju row 3, and Kamikaze maybe a little bit down on his performance there in qualifying, but it remains to be seen whether the race goes any better. Aiden Pole will line up in P7 with Supreme alongside, so a good qualifying session from both of them. The safety car apparently will line up in P9. That is once again Nick, with Matt 212 after a very good start to qualifying, dropped down the order quite a few times in P10.
Yep, and then you got your final 5. Beyond that, Strasner, who is 9 tenths of a second off in qualifying, then in 11th. Joshimas, who'll be going from 12th. Chesnoy Gaming 13th, and Cephalosis in 14th, and then Killer Cleo was unable to set a time out there in qualifying. 15th it will be for her, but she will now have to try and work her way through the order to go and get that result. But John, this is where it actually, I think, becomes a different creator series entirely. Because we are down on numbers, because of Sim Gaming Expo that's going on, it means that there's going to be a lot less traffic here today. It means that there is going to be a lot more emphasis on getting up to speed and staying with the group. And in these cold conditions, and the cars take a while to warm up, essentially, and that'll be after every pit stop, where is the main concern going to be for the majority of this field?
First of all, surviving turn 1 and indeed the first lap, because it's going to be just one of those races where you have to keep yourself in the hunt, and being in the pack will allow you to just modulate your pace a little bit better and maybe keep your tire temperatures in check, or at least high enough to keep driving. That pit stop will be very tricky, because you go from partially worn tires but warm tires to potentially a new set of tires but completely stone cold. So this is kind of one of the perfect tracks to do it at, because it's one of the mainstays of an endurance championship, and as you could say, the Petit Le Mans. So drivers should be used to it. It's a fairly common series. but it catches people out, and it will continue to do so. So I think it's going to all be down to just keeping your head in the game, keeping yourself calm, especially if drivers make a mistake in front of you. It's a long race.
It will be a long race of 50 laps. It will feel like a sprint, but these cars are only limited to about 40 minutes worth of fuel. So that is going to be where there is the payback, the drawback, because these cars are so quick, and you look at the way they're designed, they're not designed with the largest fuel tanks in the world, John.
No, they're designed to, well, give racing teams a dilemma in these races. You know, they can't go hours on end on a tank of fuel. They have to pit at some point, and that does make a little bit of a question mark in terms of strategy, because I've seen in these events two types of strategies working, in that either you go short fueled at the start and try and pull away from everybody else if you're the front two, basically if you're on the front row of the grid, but behind that probably going longer and just trying to essentially overcut the drivers in front of you, or indeed behind you, might be the winning strategy. So if you've got more fuel and drivers pit before you, they have then more fuel than you by a considerable amount, and so their lap times are maybe 2-3 seconds a lap slower, and you can find some good pace in that time. So it's going to be a very tactical race, and anybody that has a spotter will be using them to 100% in this one.
Yeah, and so we go to Killer Cleo with that, who's got two spotters there. No reason to be greedy out there. Why have one spotter when you can have two? Blake Jackson and Marcus Hagman will be helping Killer Cleo out over the course of this race. But every time you see drivers looking to push, this is one of the few cars out there which actually I think creates a lot of difficulty, John, by the nature of how you have to turn and how you have to use LMP style machinery. You cannot just lift your foot out of the throttle and expect the car to do what you want. When you load this car up, you're committed to the corner. Any deviation from that, you're in an accident.
For sure, high commitment, and as soon as the car starts bouncing, it loses part of that downforce of the floor there. You can see the front splitter creating like a cone shape which forces the air underneath the car, and if you put yourself on any uneven surface, it's going to create a really big kick of oversteer normally. So if you're on throttle, it's going to be just chaos.
So let's go get ourselves through then the starting grid of how they stack up. You can see Bedrock Zoo representing Solpec Precision Racing will be on the front with Ryan L83 alongside for company on that front row. Sparks will go from third as Blueberry will start things off in fourth position. Sim Racing's fastest doggo there in fourth. There is Punju in fifth, who leapfrogs the championship leader Kamikaze. It's been a long time since we've seen him start as far back as sixth. Aidan Pole will go from seventh with Supreme TV there in eighth position. Your top 10 will be rounded out by the safety car, which is piloted by Nick Pakin today, and Matt 212, who will round out the top 10 overall. Strasner will be going from 11th in the Strasner mobile at the moment, it looks like, with Joshimas there in 12th place. Chesnoy Gaming and Ancephalosis will be on row number 7, and then your final row will be rounded out by Killer Cleo there in a 15th position, trying to get the car working as operated. Because we are in LMP machinery, it does mean that we will have a rolling start for today's proceedings rather than a standing start. So it's a good chance to see the BMW M2 safety car getting its reps around this circuit today with all the bells and whistles on it. And it's wonderful to see them out there and running. But of course, because these LMP2s need a little while to start, they don't have the ability to get a really quick launch off the grid. That's why they have to have a rolling start.
Well, if they did, it would be interesting to watch, let's say. Also to note that these cars do not have ABS, so the brake locking and all of that will be detrimental to your race indeed. So it'll be interesting to see Kamikaze, definitely, because he's had the habit right now of starting from the front, pulling away into the distance, and then we see him at the end of the race. So now he's got his work cut out. Can he keep it clean? I know he usually goes for aggressive moves, which is good. in most racing conditions. But the problem is that sometimes you need to just keep your head in a long race. So be interesting to see. I think he'll probably just drive a little bit safer, a
wow.
little bit cautious, bag the points.
Blueberry has missed the start by 2 seconds, she says. And the issue that you have, you got to grid up within 2 minutes or you start from pit lane. So Blueberry, after qualifying the car in 4th position, is going to have to go from the very back of the field.
I was about to say there's a car missing from the grid, but yeah, that confirms it. That's so unfortunate. It's you can get caught up in just checking the settings, checking the wheel, checking your pedals, and then all of a sudden you run out of time, and it's the race to hit that button of ready to race, and unfortunately 2 seconds, just marginal. But like everything in motorsports, it's down to the tenths of seconds.
Well, it might be a blessing in disguise if there's an early safety car to get back with the field. You have to wait for the field to go on by before you're allowed out of the pits, effectively opening that pit lane and making that happen. So that should be a wonderful foray of battling to see if Blueberry can charge back up through the order. It does mean it's 1 extra place for Punju, for Kamikaze, for Aiden Pole to all gain in terms of those places. And look how aggressive the tyre warming is having to be on this run around as they exit the last section of this circuit and go along the long back stretch over to 10A and 10B, John. They really need that tyre temperature quickly.
Has been here before. You can see he's the most aggressive, and Kamikaze's cottoned onto it as well. So these two might be quick off the line. And yeah, Ryan's experience now in race starts in the LMP category might really help him out here. It'll be interesting to see, but Bedrock Zoo obviously has that experience as well, being part of such a prestigious team. So be interesting to see. I have no guesses for this one because it could be super clean, it could be super chaotic. We are about to find out.
It could be one or the other. There is no in-between as the pace car now works its way through turn 10B. It will pull off to the right-hand side, left-hand side of your screens, ladies and gentlemen. Down, well, now right-hand side, down into pits. Pace will be under the control of Bedrock Zoo with Ryan L83 alongside. Green flag in the air, and we are underway. Ryan L83 gets a fantastic start, and so too does Aiden Pole as they look to push almost 3 wide into turn number 1. Ryan L83 round the outside, Kamikaze spins around, so too Bedrock Zoo. Both of them in trouble on the opening lap.
Oh, what a disastrous crossover there. Matt 212 off into the grass as well as look at Ryan. He's got his tyres up. That is a huge shunt in the background. Not exactly sure who that was, but I think multiple
the unsafety car.
And the safety car, well, unsafety car today is out of the race for the moment, getting some damage repaired. Look at that rear spoiler just completely off of its mounting, unfortunately. Still have 1 safety car in this race, but not driven by a driver, sadly, as that means Sparks moves up into
He just
P2.
got around!
Why not?
Bang! Just like that, Troubles Punju's in the wall. Ryan L83 spins it at turn 7, and that creates all sorts of dramas. Cold tyres, creating nightmares off the start.
Oh, incredible stuff. Dropped it on the curb as far as I can see, just lit up the tyres, and maybe just having a bit too much confidence in the tyre warming he'd done before, and that is all it took. So Sparks down to P4 with a little bit of damage there, as you can see. Strassner up to... Oh, off in the background. Was that... that was Joshima's. Yeah, off. Unfortunate. I think just locking the brakes and spinning off by himself.
Yeah, Chesnoid had locked it up in front, and then in sympathy, Joshima's couldn't get around and locked up the rear, scared of what happened in front. So 1 lap complete. Supreme from 8th on the grid leads. Aiden Pole is 2nd, Strasner's 3rd, and Ancephalosis is 4th. It's then Punju. Sparks has had to come down into the pits for a fast repair. So too does Ryan L83. The unsafety car's taken a tow out there. Blueberry from the pit is already up to 8th.
Looking at that, thinking, what is going on here? 7th place, as far as I can see, for Blueberry right now. So another overtake done. That is incredible stuff as Matt 212 gets past Killer Cleo as well. I think Killer Cleo just worried about the car after that disastrous qualifying session, as we've got Punjus chasing Ancephalosis here. And that might be well, they're both in top 5, but Punju needs to maybe get an overtake done. I'd expect Punju to have a little bit more pace, no disrespect to Ancephalosis, but Punju has so much experience in this class. And look at that, just pressuring late on the brakes, easily up the inside, getting it stopped. Can he get it rotated? Well, with all of that gravel on the track, Ancephalosis might get it back, and he certainly does. Brilliant driving from Ancephalosis, judging the track correctly, and that keeps the position for the moment.
Yeah, was in very much early on the brakes. It was too deep from Punju, and the crossover comes back. Aiden Pole with the fastest lap then of the race, a 1:12.8. And for those saying, oh, driving standards, why is it so difficult for these drivers? They have a different car and track combination every single week. They have no chance to get ready. They have 1 week maximum to get prepared.
Shout out to our producer, by the way, in the background, trying to scroll and find the replays. So this is of the start, and it just looks like a crossover of racing lines between Bedrock and that was Kamikaze that got taken out there. So I think just an unfortunate turn 1 incident there with drivers trying to just keep the throttle in, and it wasn't going to happen. So let's see, Ryan gets a huge start, is able to just cut across, and I think that means that Bedrock has to go shallow turning. And did Bedrock get clipped just from the rear?
No, that's like yeah.
Yeah, he just lost it. It looked like he just spun up the rear tires, and as you said before the race, it just snapped and away it went.
It's very difficult. Bedrock Zoo, by comparison, has just gone through on Chesnoy. That's Killer Cleo taking 1 tap through the middle of the corner, and then another. So Matt 2-on-2 there, running up into the back, and that's how quickly you can find yourself into trouble out there on circuit. Though, as we find ourselves back live, look at the race lead. It is a 10th at the moment between them on the timing tower. Aiden Pole at the moment has got Supreme doing all sorts of knots right now. He might as well be a sailor with how much he finds himself twisted up.
Well, I'd like to say it's the uncommentator's curse here. As I said, Aiden Pole might get a good start in this one, might be able to get some points back. Looking good for the moment. There's a long way to go in the race, so I hope I haven't reversed that jinx now. But yeah, Supreme TV under pressure, that's for sure, as Aiden Pole will look to maybe throw it up the inside. It's a good overtaking opportunity here. It's not close enough, though, so good traction there. Oh, don't try it. Don't try it. It is going to try it up the inside. Goes Aiden Pole. And once again, we've got a side-by-side. Wow, he gets it done before the second apex. Incredible stuff and incredible confidence on the brakes from Aiden Pole.
Yeah, and on the brakes, you just got to be so committed, and Supreme had nothing for that. Aiden Pole just knowing how to pull out at turn 10A, gets it down the inside, commands the apex, and takes it away. It's now work to do for Supreme. Chase this down and keep an eye on who's there in 3rd position. That's Strasner, who's going to be wanting to try and pick up some time. Bedrock driving pretty much like El Matador at the moment. It's a case of fastest laps going to be put in, and oh, this is Blueberry over the top and bang, hard into the wall at turn 3. Again, a lock up of the rear axle.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Monza spec downforce is not going to work around this track. Sadly, just over the curb, just got the bouncing effect going. Tried to keep the throttle in, and around they went. So it's super unfortunate, but it happens. And I was about to comment about Aiden Pole's car just as he did the overtake. It got really snappy at the rear, and that will increase as the tire temperature goes up and up and up. And I think, you know, we're going to see cars struggling, maybe just a little bit with overconfidence. So Aiden Pole is pulling away in the lead at the moment, but will they be overconfident? Will they just overstep the mark? It's so easy to do that when you're trying to pull out a little bit of a gap. Meanwhile, back in 9th place, we've got Matt 2-on-2 trying to fend off Joshima's. So 2 drivers that should have very good pace around here. And it will be very interesting to see, as I think that graphic's the wrong way around. So yeah, Joshima's is in front of Matt 2-on-2 right there.
Yep, so Matt 2-on-2 in 9th position, a gain of 1, a gain of 4 so far for Joshimas, who's had a tough season, so to speak. It's gone wrong at the wrong times, and a change as Ancephalosis loses the place now to Bedrock, who moves through. So Bedrock Zoo moving up now to 5th position, and now just has to get through Punju, Strasner, Supreme, and Aiden Pole, who is out there and leading this race. And speaking of those, Strasner on the back of Supreme TV here, looking for every chance he can possibly possibly get, because this is a maximum of 2 hours of fun-free sim racing, because of course this is Creator Series Red Zone.
An incredible set of races. We are only mid-season at the moment, so a lot of action yet to come indeed from this race, and successive races after this as well. So yeah, these drivers, I mean, they've had a chaotic start to the race, so maybe the heart rate coming down now finally after the opening couple of laps, but I must say Bedrock Zoo is just zooming up the order right now. The pace is incredible, and even for people at the front, like Aidan Polder, who's increasing the gap a little bit, it's going to be not enough to keep him at bay at the moment. So we've got a converging grid, we've got Kamikaze working his way up the order now on the board. You can see him P12, so out of the pits, everything repaired. Blueberry will have to stage an almighty comeback, but we know they can do it. We know they have the pace to do it, so it'll be entertaining to see even just the fastest lap times come across the board.
Yeah, so that could be something to keep in mind. We've got 2 drivers 1 lap down. Blueberry is one of them. Nick Pakin is the other in the unsafety car down at the back. So that will give a great indication of they've got to try and work their way through and find themselves with what they need. So Aidan Pollen controls Supreme, then Strasner, and then Punju makes up your top 4. Strasner dropping back a little bit there, going through the S's, and so now that gap's back at 0.6 of a second. There's something a little bit unnerving about that livery, having all those eyes staring back at you. It's like a box of horrors.
Psychological Warfare 101 right there from Strasner. I do love that. But if you're looking in your mirrors around this track, there's a huge likelihood that you will get something wrong. So there's a lot of fun and games going on with the liveries this time, and I do love that because they have to take all of the advantage they can get. And if Bedrock Zoo could not amplify the pressure that he's already putting on the drivers ahead of him, that's another fastest lap of the race so far, and the gap is now down to 4.8 seconds to Punju, who is also turning out a fast rate of knots in this race and trying to close in on the back of Strasner.
13.1 from Punju, 13.3 from Strasner, 13.1 from Supreme, a 12.6 from Aidan Pole, and then of course that 12.2 from Bedrock, giving an indication of where paces are at this moment in time. So there is a lot to try and gather back up and say, I can find a way through. But for Supreme here, this is probably the best we've seen Supreme run all season long, and he's been doing a great job so far. Picked his way through the troubles. I'd call that landmine avoidance through the opening start of the race, and now looking to hold on. Someone going the wrong way is Ancephalosis. A lack of pace after qualifying in 14th. Did well to avoid the troubles, but you got Chesnoy Gaming, Joshimas, and Matt 212. They're now all on the scene. Yankat's in trouble.
I think, you know, Ancephalosis is a little bit more aggressive than the other drivers on the throttle, so maybe some tyre temperature issues coming into effect. That is going to be something that's going to affect the drivers in the dirty air from about 6 or 7/10 of a second out, so they're going to be stuck in a little bit of dirty air, which makes mistakes like that. As I think that might be Ancephalosis. It is making a mistake. Oh, Matt 212 nearly collects him. I think Ancephalosis didn't look in the mirrors, just too focused on the game car. And in front, that's Joshimas that has collided. Oh, and with everybody, basically. Chesnoy Gaming around, and Joshimas really taking the brunt of that one. Very unfortunate incident.
And as caution comes out for it, Joshimas and Chesnoy Gaming coming together, it throws the safety car into play. Now, this will bring this field back together once more, and it will mean that those drivers who are a lap down will have the chance to gain their lap back by a wave around. So that causes a little bit of drama, and it all starts with Ancephalosis going off. Not enough room together between them, and you've got to leave at least a half a car length. And you're going into these corners, especially one as committed as turn 5 up the hill. It's the toughest corner on the track.
Yeah, again, just difference of confidence, I think, from the drivers. Obviously, Ancephalosis going off didn't help, but Chesnoid, I think, just lifted on turn 5, and that meant that Joshimas just went straight into the back of them, and there was not much they could do there. But looking at Joshimas' car, that's going to be quite a lengthy repair, because the wheel was definitely pointing in the wrong direction. As off goes, that was the replay, sorry, of Ancephalosis going off. and just rejoins all right into the track, as we saw of Map 212. And then Joshima's gets a run, looks for it, and then I think just carries the overspeed of that different line, and just a little miscalculation, I'd say there. But probably a liftoff plus the overspeed just resulted in that collision.
So I'm looking at those drivers who are in the pits. Matt 212 and Joshima's are those looking to take pit stops right now under caution. So they are looking at trying to gain those advantages. Then as we find ourselves under this caution period, they'll get 9 to 10 laps worth of fuel. So that will be good in the back pocket as they look and sort it. We're on fixed weather conditions here to 16:30, so 4:30 in the afternoon. They've got 4 fast repairs available to them. And what I would also look around and say, what are you looking at in terms of strategy? Well, if you're pitting this early, I make the question to you here, John. There's not really much point in changing tyres at this point, is there?
No, not really. You want to keep the temperature in the tyres, although it will be very difficult. We'll see cars starting to weave if they are staying out. Definitely in terms of fuel, it's going to be, I think, impossible or very marginal if you pit right now. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, you've got the also task of carrying the extra weight if you pit now in terms of fuel, so it will put you at a disadvantage for the race restart. So there's a lot of factors to take into account here, but you definitely don't want to be changing off of those tyres. They've only done 10 laps. Unless you've gone for a big spin and overheated them or flat spotted them or something else, then it's not going to be beneficial to you. And we have, I think, just a little bit of problems for Ancephalosis there, getting caught up with some things. Maybe some people in the pits. Yeah, the pit timing's coming in a little bit later there. So quite a few people in the pits, including Bedrock Zoo. So they are obviously considering that it might be feasible on fuel.
Yep, so Bedrock Zoo, Strasner, Ryan L83, Ancephalosis, and Sparks all hit the pit, and I love the banter between Punju and Strasner. Punju going, Chesnoy Gaming, hello, nice to see you up here. And Chesnoy going, well, they've all pitted, so that's the only reason why I'm here.
A little bit harsh on himself right there. He was doing a good pace before that incident. So, yeah, I mean, track position is a big thing around here, so I'm not surprised that they are joking about that, that's for sure. It puts the people that pitted at another disadvantage where they have to get the overtakes done. I'd estimate you probably need an offset of about 3 or 4 tenths to have a chance of an overtake around here, so you've got to have that pace within you, or you've got to wait for a mistake, and drivers can be quite impatient at restart. So again, another danger zone that we were talking about just before the start of the race.
Yep, Chesnoy then running the mock-up Formula-style livery of what Lotus used to run in Formula 1, and actually is a good point to start talking about Lotus in terms of what they've got going on. So the lights are off on top of the safety car because their Hethel factory are about to lose about half their workers, and I think that's a real shame for one of the great car brands that you see out there in the world, and the fact that they've got their own test track out there at Hethel and Norfolk is fantastic. The unsafety car goes flying on by and does not get that, and doesn't realise, I guess, that, yeah, no, you don't get a wave around. You're on the same lap. So Nick's going to have to pull over to one side here and let everyone through, or risk taking the penalty here. So it was immediately on the brakes, trying to get that sorted. Now falls to the back of the pack and just about gets away with it there. So for Nick and the unsafety car, that's one way to try and get temperature into the tyres. A mass break like that. It's Supreme versus Aidan Poll on the restart here as they get themselves set. The iRacing BMW safety car will move on down into the pit, and it's going to be a charge now to get up to speed as they wait for that green flag. It drops once again, and we're back to racing. It was a 2-wide restart, and swarmed is Killer Cleo off of the start in the middle. There'll be 3 wide in the middle, working towards turn 1. Down the inside goes Punju. Kamikaze's up to 4.
Yeah, a good race start, everybody keeping it clean so far, so a lot of overtakes potentially happening in the midfield. Joshima's trying to get up the inside there of Killer Cleo. It looks like they made the job stick right there. Killer Cleo just not having the confidence, as it looks like Supreme also not having the confidence on the restart. Maybe a bit colder tyres than they would like. And off in the background, is that Bedrock Zoo? It is Bedrock Zoo. spun, 180, and indeed another car going off. I think that was Strasner or Killer Cleo it was, and Matt 212 caught up in it as well. And we have Joshima's as well around, so a lot of Matt 212 just rejoining at the wrong time. Visibility not playing to their advantage right there, and that is considerable damage on the car. As you can see, the car crabbing all the way down the straight.
Yeah, Matt 2-on-2, finding out just how difficult it is with Joshima spinning on his own, Matt spinning on his own, Bedrock spinning on his own. It's a case of Spin City off of the restart, Killer Cleo down in the pit, but Aiden Pole in control, Supreme in second, Punju's third, Kamikaze back to fourth, Ryan L83 to fifth, and Chesnoy Gaming in 6th position. Drivers like Blueberry have made good progress up to 9th, battling Ancephalosis for position, but for the moment it's about finding rhythm once again. Lap 13 here of 50, unlucky for some.
Talking about that restart, if I had $1 for every time a car had to slow down to not overtake the safety car, I'd have $2, and it's interesting that that's happened twice. But it's very, very difficult to get the restart going. You've got to just commit to it and just push flat out and hope that everybody survives around you. And unfortunately, I think for Bedrock Zoo, they just got a little bit ambitious, just trying to gain the places. And on the cold tires after their pit stop, I think everybody that spun was on colder tires after the pit. So unfortunate for them as Blueberry moves past the unsafety car there. We're just seeing the end of that overtake side by side still.
Yeah, and Ancephalosis is giving that toe back to Nick Pakin in the unsafety car. So this is going to be tough for Blueberry, who's going to have to go the long way around. Car crabbing on the inside. They just avoid it there as they go on by. That's Matt 212 desperate to try and keep the lap and hasn't. And then just about running that through. Nick gets the aggressive factor on, and Sparks wants to move on down through on the inside of Blueberry and will not get there. Bumps about on the curve on the inside. Nothing doing. Nick now to the inside of Ancephalosis takes the place at turn 1, and now up towards turn 3. It's as quickly as going from defence to attack in some of these groups.
Give them credit through that last corner, going side by side. You have to respect the other driver, you have to, and we're going to get a replay. Yeah, Bedrock Zoo drops it on the curb, so everybody dropped it on that curb there. And then collisions happen in the background because Matt 212's just caught in the middle of the road with nowhere to go. And yeah, so it's really unfortunate. And Matt 212 trying to reverse nearly collects Bedrock Zoo, and also Joshima's there, so that's really unfortunate for them. But you can see just the traction, I think, maybe a bit of gravel on the line. Super unfortunate for Bedrock Zoo. Really just got collected there, to be honest. But I think they were going for a spin anyway, to be fair. But yeah, just the level of grip, the level of tire temperature contributed to that. And it's very unfortunate.
Kamikaze was side by side with Punju for 3rd place, and in fact might lose 4th. Look at Ryan L83 go. One lockup, no drive. So much power for a car with so little ABS. It is a very tough car to get correct. Once you scrub all the speed, you got to do everything to get it back up again, and Kamikaze loses out the spot.
Yeah, it's once again that deal with high downforce cars is once you scrub off the speed, you lose braking potential because you lose the downforce, but also cornering. So if you're snapping oversteer, then it becomes undrivable. So here's the overtake. So Punju on the defensive into the chicane, turn 10. And will we see Kamikaze late on the brake side? Yeah, they both brake at the same time. Punju defends really well, and that forces Kamikaze to just compromise his line. And then Ryan gets the overspeed down the inside, and basically Kamikaze has nowhere to go but to just relinquish the position. But I know he will fight for it, that's for sure.
Speaking of fighting for it, Sparks is having a little nibble around each and every corner. 2nd in the championship, knowing that Kamikaze is ahead, and so too is Aiden Pole, who leads and would now drop to 3rd in the championship. Would it stay like this? So needs the move on Ancephalosis, will get the drive, goes all the way to the inside, trying to make that pass happen, takes the middle of the road, and Blueberry goes throwing it down the inside, locks up the rears, trying to avoid contact, and goes around again.
Yeah, that was just a case of a panic situation. Sadly, they're a little bit frustrated, I can tell, just not expecting to be having that much difficulty on the brakes. As you said, the low downforce from the dirty air probably contributed to that, but yeah, just a little bit ambitious, a little bit impatient, I'd say, and that's put them another 5 seconds down the road, unfortunately, and Bedrock Zoo profits from that as well. So yeah, just a case of just trying to get too much done too quickly. As I will say, Ryan is now putting on a good turn of pace, but Punju is not letting himself get caught by these two, and he's attacking as well, it must be said.
Yeah, and attacking well here is Ryan, trying to get back into position. That gap of 0.7 of a second, you can see the difference there of losing about 1 second over the last 3 laps has Punju to Ryan L83. As every time we keep an eye on position, there will be changes on the order. Bedrock Zoo, for example, now up into the top 10, past Ancephalosis for position, and side by side is Chesnoid out there. This is Killer Cleo having all sorts of troubles out there, and it's proving to be a tough day at the office. It's one of those cars where you either like it or you hate it. It's like Marmite, and just avoiding the barriers there, needing to find reverse. Does Blueberry. It's so difficult once you're in the wrong position because you've got to do all that work to get the temperature back, and effectively it's a game of diminishing returns with this car.
Look at how much pressure Kamikaze is putting on Ryan L83 in the background. That is just all of the pressure, and I think Kamikaze has the pace, but Ryan has the consistency. He has the just knowledge of where to attack, where to defend around here. And so you can see though, off in the foreground, Punju there all the way off the course, unfortunately rejoining just in front of Kamikaze, so he had to take a bit of avoiding action. But yeah, both Ryan and Punju going very, very wide. Maybe just tire temperature coming into effect. The drivers will have to lift and coast. Kamikaze is going to go for it here, surely. He senses that Ryan isn't confident. He's going to swoop to the inside. No, he backs off. Wow. I was fully expecting him to go for it, but maybe just a bit of patience here from Kamikaze, looking perhaps toward the championship.
Yeah, he's trying to save money in terms of his pace by the amount of pixels he's got on his camera at the moment, but he's certainly doing a great job as far as it stands here, trying to keep Ryan L83 in position. Maybe when you're a little bit less confident with the car that maybe Kamikaze is, that is going to give time. And that's a case of Tony Hawk rides the curb, and Punju couldn't quite do a kickflip.
Yeah, well, I don't think he'd want to do a kickflip, although it would have been very funny for us. But yeah, it's so unfortunate with the curb and grass on the tyres. So you can see from this perspective, just with the amount of speed that Ryan carries into both of these corners, he's just on a knife's edge every single time. But Kamikaze is able to carry more speed. I'm not sure whether it's just driving technique or racing line that's chosen, but he's really putting Ryan under pressure, and he's closer than ever before here. Surely this time we see a move.
Well, surely we might, and it could be a case of how aggressive do you want to be, how aggressive do you feel, and ultimately Ryan L83 has got the braking marker sorted there because he's so early into the apex, and Kamikaze's got no drive. Look at Punju get the launch again. Once bitten, twice as shy, twice Kamikaze's been attacked off the exit of 10B.
I'm at a loss for words. I don't know how to explain Kamikaze's struggles right now for consistency. One of the most consistent drivers that I know, and just getting it all wrong today. Maybe just the locking of the brakes. This is Bedrock Zoo. Yeah, Bedrock Zoo in collision with Ancephalosis. That has not gone well. Let's see if we can get a different angle of that. So it looks like Bedrock Zoo might have gone off of his own volition here. What's happened? Oh no, that is
Chesnoid going around at 7.
Yeah, Chesnoid going around.
Chesnoid gaming in front. Hits the brakes, completely locks it up, and there's nowhere to go. I'll wait for you to finish your incident, and an Ancephalosis is brought back onto the scene. So Chesnoid Gaming then with the move, but Bedrock Zoo gets the place, but critically loses 7 seconds to Sparks.
That is so unfortunate. I mean, Bedrock is just in the battleground.
Oh, can't Punju.
Whoa! Yes, go for it. Can he get it stopped? Yes, he can. And he's got the traction as well. And he's put Ryan in exactly the same position, and through goes Kamikaze. It just seems that if you get on the outside of that turn, you just have no drive for the last turn, and you automatically get overtaken. So we've done a switch around in terms of position, as it's now Punju from Kamikaze, from Ryan L83, but this battle will continue. And yeah, I'm getting caught out in the commentary box from some liveries have been changed from qualifying, so just wanted to apologise for that. And yeah, as you say, traffic in front, and that's Killer Cleo. It looks like it.
It was, and Killer Cleo was begging, please don't pass me through here. This is my problem area. I need confidence through this section, which is very brave to do as a car that's struggling out there in terms of pace. So give us some credit for that, to get on the radio and say, look, just let this go until after we go by, and ultimately that's what happens. So Punju obliges, gets the drive, and through all of that, Ryan L83 actually loses a bit of time.
Yeah, he'll just be looking at the front two there, hoping that they go to some sort of blows in this chicane here. Kamikaze not close enough. Ryan, I think, will just be conserving tires. You can see just the car being a little bit skittish in the braking zone, indicating probably that the brakes are not optimal in terms of temperature, but also the rear tires might be a little bit cooked after those few months of oversteer. But I will say that Ryan's dropping a little bit more pace as well. Lost a few car lengths there once again. So maybe something going on that we don't know about right now in the commentary box. As Blueberry looks to move up the positions once again. That's Chesnoid Gaming. I've got that livery locked down now. But Chesnoid having a little bit of an anonymous race at the moment. And Blueberry still struggling with those brakes.
Yeah, the issue with Blueberry is that she's got a zone clearly that you know that you can push in, that you can hit the brakes, and you know that the car's going to turn and do what's wanted. The issue that Blueberry's having, what if I can't carry the speed that I want to? And then the issue comes from, well, if I can't carry the speed I want to, I lose all the aerodynamic downforce.
Yeah, and indeed, if you're braking toward the inside of the corner, you have to brake slightly earlier, you have to change your racing line, so it requires a lot of confidence and a lot of also just practicing maybe during a practice session. And if you don't have it locked down, then you're afraid, and when you get afraid of overtaking someone, just even by 1%, you just lock the brakes a little more. You're a bit more tentative on your choosing your lines, your turn-in point, how aggressively you turn in, and it just leads to disaster. And so in running in clean air, as you said, Jake, it's one thing, but having to do the overtakes, having to drive to somebody else's pace for a few laps, it can throw you completely off of your game for at least a few laps yourself. So a bit like what I think we're seeing from Kamikaze, just stuck in that dirty air trying to get past, but it's not happening at the moment. And it doesn't help that, well, Punju's driving a great race, so no disrespect to him, but it doesn't help that Punju's only leaving about 2 or 3 tenths of a second on the table in terms of pace, so it makes it even more difficult to overtake, and that's just a credit to him. Look how much speed Kamikaze carries through turn 6 and turn 7, though.
Yeah, very good through the medium speed corners, but again, you've got this long straight to try and find that move, and this is where Punju's been so good. Turn 10A, turn 10B. The best place on the track to attack. If you're the best in that section, you can make it happen. Blueberry's got eyes on Chesnoid Gaming for the place, and so can the world's fastest doggo, the only VTuber in the field, find a pass? No. Had to have 2 bites of the cherry to think about Chesnoid through turn 6. Won't get any drive through turn 7, but should now be close enough to use the slipstream to go and attack over at turn 10A and 10B. We're nearing that halfway stage of the race as Ryan L83 watches that go in the distance, and Kamikaze actually has just come in for a mandatory scheduled stop.
Yeah, so a little bit early still. Question mark
Miss
about
box.
that one. And missed the box as well. Oh, that's going to just add 2 or 3 seconds to the timing, which is a lot of time in these cars. And I must say, just from Blueberry's perspective, as they have huge overspeed, maybe they'll go for it in turn 1. But they've just not been maximizing the traction out of the corners. As Chesnoid goes a little bit wide, and I think just the pressure getting to him, and that allows Blueberry straight past, easy move, and that will mean that Blueberry has 1 less car to deal with. But unfortunate for Chesnoid, just getting a little bit of understeer, I think, with a late turn-in, just putting him onto the dirty line a little bit.
It's very easy to grab the grass on the entry of turn number 1, even because of the national pits they have on the left-hand side. One of the unique things about this Road Atlanta circuit, you got a pit lane on either side of the racetrack when you go along the front stretch. So sometimes when you see club events going around Road Atlanta, they will use the alternate pits, which is there on the left-hand side rather than the right. Sparks finding himself now in the middle, looking at the unsafety car of Nick Pakin, which is 6th place. So that's a battle for position to try and chase that back in. We'll take another look. Oh, that's Matt 212 deciding to go for a little meander around the circuit, and then deciding with dirty tyres, you know what? I'm just going to go for a bit of a 360, showing all of that club layout.
showing all of the livery as well, you know. Sponsors will be pleased, I guess. But unfortunate, that is not the fastest line through there. It's more of a rallycross style line. That's coming later on in the season, but or earlier on in the season if you want to look at that after this race as well. But yeah, unfortunate for them as Ancephalosys under pressure now from Blueberry. Look at that turn of pace. Already 10 car lengths to Chesnoid. I don't think Ancephalosys is going to be able to put up much of a fight. Just struggling with the car today. And look at that overspeed. Blueberry to the outside. It hasn't worked so far. Can they get the move done this time? It's going to be late on the apex. No, once again, just crowded out on the entry there. And they'll have to wait. Now going for a wider line. This is much better from Blueberry. But didn't really get the traction there. Just a little bit tentative on the throttle. That's going to leave them with 2 car lengths to catch up. Even into the braking zone. It's going to be all down to that slipstream and all down to the confidence. Will they go to the inside? Oh, tentative. They are going for it. They have to make it done now. Ancephalosys not defending too much, but everybody on the brakes, and it looks like they've got it neatly done, and both of them continue on their merry way. I don't think Ancephalosys were going to defend that too hard, as I think they recognised just the pace difference was a little bit too great to put up a solid defence.
10 clicks of speed, the difference between them out there. It wasn't really much of a fight at all by the time they got to 10A and 10B, but a good little bit of understanding between them. Blueberry up to 9th, Ancephalosys battering the inside curb at turn 3, then goes down to 10th place, and we'll soon have Chesnoid Gaming for a little bit of content as well to deal with. On board with Chesnoid Gaming at the halfway stage, Aidan Pole your leader by over 8 seconds ahead of Supreme TV, Punju in 3rd and Ryan L83 in 4th place.
Yeah, that gap keeps increasing by a couple of tenths per lap. Aidan Pole just able to keep the confidence high, keep the consistency going, but there will be traffic at some point, so they've got to remain vigilant. And yeah, Chesnoid now approaching Ancephalosys. The overspeed really working very well, just enough to put you alongside into the braking zone. Here we go, down once again on board from Chesnoid's perspective. Well, it was on board, braking later does Ancephalosys, but not getting the turn in. I just think a little bit wary that Chesnoid might lock the brakes, and that means it's a clean move. But once again, you can see the speed that you lose by allowing the other car to turn in first. You just lose that 10, maybe 20 kilometers per hour, and you have to get back on throttle, and it just takes 2 car lengths away from you.
There's the scrap, 6th and 7th, and Sparks is someone who looks around at the rivals who are 1st and currently down in 12th, having made that stop early here to Kamikaze, thinking, yeah, I've got a lot of work to do in order to pull this back into position that's needed. Sparks, looking at this championship, hasn't had a marquee result, so to speak, John. It's been pure consistency that has got this over towards 2nd in the championship. I would say this is pure Keke Rosberging, this situation.
Yeah, for sure, and it's worked so far. I mean, Kamikaze now finding out that you do need to keep it consistent as well, although he's got a little bit of points buffer, it must be said. I think that Kamikaze has done an interesting strategy here by maybe pitting while he's still got a little bit of fuel in the car, because he realised that he was never going to be able to get the overtakes done for a lengthy amount of time, and so just choosing to pit, go into clean air. He's got now 13 seconds of clean air ahead of him. Maybe get the undercut and go for it, basically.
Yeah, he's got to get the tyres up to temperature first and foremost, and then he's just got to try and put in lap after lap after lap. And even if he doesn't get the undercut, he'll have warm tyres, while all his rivals around, once they pit, have cold tyres. And so that becomes an important port of call to go and get around. Joshima's currently being lapped around by those in 2nd and 3rd position, when this is what those drivers will have to deal with at the moment. In the mirrors goes Sparks, and trying to get Nick Pakin to make a mistake out there on circuits. Pretty much one of the first things you're told when you try and go and make a move. Get wide in the mirrors, make your car seem bigger than it is.
Yeah, I tell you what, Sparks' fastest lap is really, really good, over 12.4, so right on the marks with the leaders at the moment. So looking to have the consistency and the pace this time around, so we'll be looking to get past Nick, and that's not going to be easy, as both of them have quite a bit of experience in these cars, and indeed probably on this track as well. So they know the racing line, they know the commitment. Look at them over the curbs, as Nick just getting really wide there, just avoiding the inside curve of turn 5. and very different lines being played out today. It might be that each driver has their fastest corner this time round, and they're just going to play into their hands. It does help us as well, because that increases the overtaking opportunities, so I'll give that a +1 from me.
Well, every opportunity to try and find placement and position and result that works is going to be tantamount to success. And for the moment, Sparks very much finding out that the unsafety car is very much an equal. Aidan Poll going even quicker still, a 1:11.8 there. That's just, in fact, that's 4/10 quicker than his qualifying time that he was able to do with a 1:12.2. It shows you how much in the zone he is.
Yeah, is this hammer time? Is this hammer time before coming into the pits? I think it might be for a few drivers. That lap is really on the edge of grip, as they say, is just going for it. We've rarely seen him in this race because he's just been first and pulled off into the distance. So we've had not really an opportunity to cover that beautiful livery on that number 12 car leading the race at the moment, but maybe we'll see him come into the pits this lap. Did I see a little bit of damage on the front rights there? I'm not quite sure. It might just be the lighting, but you can see the gap visually right there. There is not a single car on the straight with Aidan Poll at the moment, and so he is just increasing the gap another 4/10 of a second this lap. Will we see him come into the pits? No, he's just keeping pushing at the moment, just thinking maybe if I can increase the gap a lot, if for whatever reason there might be a safety car coming out, maybe after an incident or whatever, then as we get confirmation, another 11.8 there. My days, that is consistent and fast. But yeah, if there is another safety car, he maybe has a margin to pit for fuel then.
Yeah, so it's going to be absolutely magnificent to see the way that Aidan Poll's been going about business here. And this has been a tough race. And speaking of tough races, it is starting to close back in now for Strasner. So the work that's being done right now by the unsafety car of Nick Packin and also Sparks, it's dragging Strasner into this group. Joshimus is the one car in the middle whose lap traffic that will need to jump out of the way. In fact, will do so with a big wiggle coming out of turn 5. The pitfall almost finding him there once again. But ultimately for Sparks, this is going to be a nice, easy pass through. And now it's a group of 3 for the top 5.
I'm just looking at these times right now via our timing screen. I don't understand how this is going on for Aidan Poll, because everybody else is at least 3 to 5 tenths slower than their fastest lap, and Aidan Poll's just pumping in the fastest laps of the race at the moment. The last was a 12.3, so about 5 tenths down. Maybe he's just done the strategy of cooling the tyres a little bit, as wow, that was very late on the brakes from the unsafety car there. And yeah, maybe there's a strategy going on here of cooling the tyres for 2 laps and then pushing for 2 laps, and that might be faster, as the times now are in line with what the other drivers are doing now for Aidan Poll on this lap. So interesting that they might have found something to give them just that little bit of extra pace when they need it.
Yeah, and all drivers on fuel numbers are going to need a pit stop here, so they're going to have a lot to try and deal with out there. The unsafety car of Nick Packin looking for that 5th place, sliding about a lot up over turn 5, having to really fight the limit of grip on those Michelin tyres. Michelin, of course, a company that does wonderful tyres and as well a wonderful book into high dining and what's the best out there.
Like, not sponsored, but yeah. They've definitely got the knowledge indeed, and that will be reassuring to drivers as well to know that the solid compound of tyres is on the car for sure. The good thing about endurance racing is the tyres are designed to keep a consistent feel throughout the stint of a race, and you don't get that massive cliff that you're diving off in terms of pace compared to maybe, say, a Formula 3 car or indeed a non-downforce car. Let's say an MX-5, something like that. So, yeah, very, very different style of driving, and it does mean that drivers can push to a certain degree. There's a time where the tyre temperatures just fall off a cliff, though, so, yeah, really, really interesting to see what they'll do in terms of pit stops as well, because I think maybe some drivers might be thinking, you know what, I don't need a new set of tyres, I'll keep the temperature in the tyres, and maybe that might benefit me.
Yeah, and if you've got an opportunity to say, this is where you can sit down. Oh, Strasner off the road, and a big, big moment there. Just about avoids the barriers. It was pure pressure, massive slide, and somehow with that tyre barrier looming. He keeps it out of trouble.
Bounce on the inside. Did he bounce on the curb? So one clatter of the curb. And oh yeah, it was the curb, just hitting the entry to that curb, and it just enough to lift the car, throw them off balance, and then they're on the brakes trying to recover it a little bit, and it just gets all sorted out. And yeah, Aiden Pole in the pits then. So it was pushing there, and yeah, you can just see the front right tire going over the curb. Maybe some damage. I doubt it, damage to the suspension, but it can happen, and that is unfortunate. As
big miss
Aiden Pole leaves, missed by at least 5 meters there.
And this is what you find at American-based circuits. It's asphalt when you're on the fast lane, but the moment you move into the boxes, it's concrete.
Yeah, it does affect, and there was damage on the car. Just saw it got reset there, so there was a little bit of damage for Aiden Pole. So impressive that he could do all of that driving with maybe a tiny bit, and they're already back out on in P7 it looks like. So they've rejoined ahead of Kamikaze by quite a margin. So yeah, that just shows the consistency that they've had out front, and also how important it was at that race start to just keep it clean.
Yeah, and the 7-Eleven graphic right now, not sponsored, is 25 seconds, the margin at this point between Aiden Pole and Kamikaze. And that tells you all you need to know. 21 seconds back. I look at 21 seconds off the race lead. I'm looking at Strasner. I'm looking at Bedrock. That's the sort of area where Kamikaze is. So I think Kamikaze may have lost out quite a bit here. In comes Supreme now. They're at the end of their fuel window. Ryan L83 continues out.
It's the old school strategy of if you stop and fuel the car, you have to have good pace, because otherwise you're carrying those extra liters of fuel in the car compared to everybody else that's low fuel and that's they've got a low car weight. So that's easily maybe a second or 2 seconds of pace. So they've just got to go for it. And for Kamikaze, it has not played out.
Chesnoy's forgot to change his tyres at the pit stop. He's asking whether it won't be a problem, and Killer Cleo's got the best clap back ever, while just blowing the tyres so they get a bit too hot.
Yes, the good old just point a fan to them and they'll be fine. I guess that's a strategy. Well, no, that's true. Maybe the tyres are indeed a little bit hot, but just locking the brakes, yeah. Trying to turn in. You could just see the hint of turn in, and then they realised it was a really bad idea, but by that point the car was rotating anyway, and there's not much you can do about it. So just gone for a little bit of a spin, and I can dare say, yes, Jake, that won't help the tyres either.
Oh, and Bedrock's just come out of the pits right behind Kamikaze. So that important with Ancephalosis just in front of them both. This will be a big 3-car scrap for position here on lap 34 of 50. Ryan L83, your new leader, as we are in the pit cycle at the moment, this late on into the race. Kamikaze, who pitted early and looking just to build some rhythm here in the final stages of the race, searching for any which way to get this past. And I do want to know that Punju has been in the pits for an awfully long time.
Yeah, that's more than a minute now as far as I can see, so that's a strange one. He may have had either some sort of problem with equipment.
No, he's gone off. He's had an off.
He's had an
He's had a huge off. That was at turn 6.
Q2R director scrolling through the incidents to try and find it. Here we go, maybe. Let's have a look. We are indeed on board with Punju. Let's see. Turn 6, is it on the grass maybe? Oh no, it just lets go. It just brakes and it just completely lets go into the barrier. That's your rear wing gone, and that's back to pits. Probably a wheel missing as well.
Concrete playground finding itself well known, and the caution comes out right in the middle of the pit window.
Yeah, too much debris on track as Punju tried to get it back round to the pits. That is going to throw a lifeline to Ryan and to Sparks. Yeah, here we go.
Killer Cleo made the latest of late calls to dive down into the pits, and Ryan L83 had to muscle his way through on the one-track pit entry.
That's an interesting one. I'll give them credit for making that work, but Sparks has missed the pit lane entry, it seems, and has carried on round, which is disastrous for him.
Sparks has turned around and gone, wait, we're allowed to pit?
Yeah, that's not going to play out very well for him, unfortunately. Yeah, that's going to lose him a lot of time. So it's so unfortunate because the rules do differ per series. So Yeah, unfortunate for him, but I may get an opportunity to dive into the pits. Who knows? And it
No
looks
shocks,
like no.
Killer Cleo's got a penalty, which should be cleared by the stewarding team for an unsafe pit entry into the pit. So Killer Cleo trying to go around, does have a wave around to go and work with. But now we're in that scenario here. Aiden Poll will effectively go back to the race lead because Sparks will need to come in and make a stop once more, and we are in that lapping process. So Punju will get the lap back, Chesnoid should, Matt 2-on-2, Joshimus and Killer Cleo, the 3 laps down currently as it stands. So there is going to be an unlapping process here that is going to take a little bit of time to make sure that they are all back on the leading lap. But for the moment, Sparks with control of the field, Aiden Poll in second, Supreme third, and now back to fourth because Rhino83 had that position, and they're not quite sure between those two who's got what. Rhino83 thinks he's ahead at the moment, and I think that's how it's going to stay.
We'll toss a coin for it, I guess. But just want to point out as well how crucial that was for Aiden Poll to push those couple of laps to get that extra fourth. Oh, Joshimus nearly losing it under safety car conditions here, or unsafety car conditions, it must be said. That car really oversteery for some reason all of the time. But yeah, it was just marginal for Aiden Poll to get back out in front of Ryan, and he's made it work, so that is one less problem. But as we can see, I think that was Sparks in the pit. Yeah. So yeah, that's so unfortunate. The question is also, can Kamikaze go now the full race distance without pitting? Already 13 laps into his stint, so in terms of fuel, it's going to be maybe a little bit marginal.
Oh, there's a fantastic game going on between Rhino83 and Supreme right now. They are side by side on circuit, battling under the safety car to say who's going to be ahead. As we can see now, back into position is going to go Matt 2-on-2, looking for that wave around, and will get it here on the inside. Takes the cone for good measure and clears the field there without too many troubles at all. So that then sorts itself out and makes that progress known. Good chance to get a bit of screen time after a couple spins out there, and a great chance for the field to bring itself back together and say this is how close they have all been racing, this is how much effort they're having to put in behind that iRacing BMW M2 safety car, and saying in the final, I would say 12 to 13 laps of this race, who's going to stand up and say what are they going to do? Aiden Poll has been quite frankly perfect when it has come to these restarts and has been nary unchallenged as far as this race has gone.
Has had the pace as well. We saw that from qualifying, to be fair. So it'll be an interesting game of confidence versus maybe outright pace, but a little bit down on confidence at the moment. Obviously, you've got Supreme as well, who will look to profit from any mistake of the front two. And, you know, we've got Kamikaze and Bedrock Zoo back in the mix as long as they can get the overtakes done. So it may be a little bit of infighting there on the restart in the midfield. Blueberry also there up with them. So after all of those mistakes, Blueberry has had a little bit of a lifeline thrown at them. So it'll be really interesting to see how this all pans out. There's still quite a few cars getting the wave around. Killer Cleo going around for getting that lap undone in terms of being a lap down. So good to see that. Good to see drivers being able to get back into the race. Hopefully, well, they might be able to catch the unsafety car, but it's going to have to require a mighty push as Killer Cleo goes off the circuit, just demonstrating that this car is just not clicking for her at all.
No, I tell you what, Strasner's going to be an interesting scenario. He feels very intimidated that he's had the safety car on his bumper the entire time.
Well, you got a safety car sandwich, a unique feature of the Creator Series. There we go. There's a lot of uniqueness, including unsafe pit entries. We don't know what that means for Killer Cleo, so everything's good.
Everything is all about holding yourself steady and making sure that the nerve is there. Safety car will be due in at the end of this lap. And so if you can put yourself in the right place at the right time and say this is all about getting what you need, they will funnel to 2 wide on this restart, which is one of the small quirks there. And I'll tell you what, Supreme's trying to make it 3 going through. Is going to continue playing this game of chicken right now with Ryan L83, and I'm all for it.
I love to see it. You've just got to have that psychological bit between the drivers, and you know, there's So much gamesmanship going on here, but so easy also to collide behind the safety car. So I don't want to see them doing that, that's for sure. But yeah, you've got to put your opponents under pressure, and this is one of the unique opportunities to do so. I think Ryan has relinquished. Oh no, we're going for P2 once again, just playing the brinksmanship up until the end. Hopefully no penalties, but Kamikaze there. Just want to note also, not much tyre warming going on. We're starting to see it now, but all of the rest of the drivers are perfectly happy with their tyre temperatures, apparently.
Yeah, so if you can find that tyre temperature and be comfortable with it, we know how aggressive these restarts have been, especially at 2 wide, when they've had to try and make it work. Aiden Pole, Supreme, Ryan L83, Kamikaze's up there, Strasner, don't count out Nick Packin there in the unsafety car, Blueberry making recoveries, Bedrock, who's been the fastest on pure pace all day, now with an opportunity to prove that it can work. Sparks as well in 9th. Has an outside shot, and from the rear, Punju will also want an opportunity to prove status out there at this point. This is a magical moment in terms of how can we get this restart to work, and can Aiden Pole, who has been so dominant here today in these LMP2s, these Dallara P217s, will it be a case of holding on for 12 more laps to say this is his season that he'll want to challenge Kamikaze for? Now running through 10A and 10B, the pace car will make its way down to pit lane, and pace will be under the control of the 12. 83 and 15 will look around and say this is what we're all about as we get back underway with green flag running. Ryan L83 immediately gets on the aggro pedal and goes to the inside. Kamikaze will have a search towards turn number 1 and will get into the side of Supreme.
Yeah, so unfortunate. Supreme just got bumped out there, and I think Kamikaze a little bit aggressive there. Bedrock challenging unsafety car, but the unsafety car getting a good lock-in on that position. Strasner dropping down the field a little bit there. I think maybe a little bit of a mistake over the grass, and we can see in the background now Cephalosis over the grass. Oh, Aiden Pole is off, and Ryan 83 as well. Both of them into the wall. Just a little snap, and can they avoid contact? No, they both, loads of people get collected, and that is huge damage. I think another caution is going to be thrown. That is a lot of debris on track, and indeed a lot of cars in the barriers and in the wars. So we had Aiden Pole, Strasner, Joshimus, and Cephalosis, Ryan, and maybe Matt 212 caught up in that one. Didn't see Matt get caught up, but maybe that was the car that collided with them.
It all starts from Aiden Pole having a massive wiggle at the front. Kamikaze, through all of that, is now your new race leader, as if the stars will always seem to align for him in terms of this season. But Aiden Pole with the wiggle, Ryan L83 runs up the back, and then it's carnage that ensues as nobody knows how to hold a brake.
Oh yeah, just a punt there from Kamikaze. Just, and you know, Supreme left a car width on the inside, but it just wasn't enough. And here we're going to see the wiggle just over the curb, unsettled. You could see there, just before hitting the curb. And then Ryan collects Aiden Pole as well, just not lifting off, recognizing. And unfortunately, they're just in the middle of the track and gets connected by Strasner there. But I know there was other cars involved in that as well. And that is super, super unfortunate. We're going to see Aiden Pole over the grass there already. We didn't see that at previous point of view. And then just a little bit of grass on the tyres, a little bit of a wiggle. Both of them collected. Kamikaze just goes round to the left. And unfortunately, they both park it in the middle of the straight. And that is indeed Strasner. And I think that was Joshima's going straight into the back as well.
Everyone now take a breath. We expect these restarts to be difficult there. Encephalosis having another moment then going through the corner. Ryan L83 able to get back out again, but here's your feel. Kamikaze lead, Blueberry up to second, Nick Paikin is third in the unsafety car, Bedrock up to fourth, and Sparks now in P5. Punju now up to sixth through all of that. Aiden Pole, who has led practically everything today, is now down in 12th position with Ryan L83 in 11th with it all to do. So it completely shakes up this field, and as has been the story of this season so far, John, you know, it's always sunny in Philadelphia and everything comes up Kamikaze.
all I have to say is he can't keep getting away with this, surely. I mean, the luck of the gods is on his side, and, you know, he's been very, you know, well, no, actually, I don't want to say clean. There's been quite a few incidents for Kamikaze, but somehow, out of all of that, including causing an incident before this safety car, he's managed to just get himself up in the leads. That is the luck of the racing gods sometimes. But there are a lot of people behind him to challenge, including Blueberry, once again, on a rampage, and the unsafety car in P3, and Bedrock Zoo P4, with Sparks, once again consistent, moving up the ranks, even with that missed pit lane strategy from the last safety car. So a few drivers getting lucky, a few drivers getting unlucky. It just seems to happen.
Certainly does. A late pit stop call then from Supreme and the likes of Chesnoy Gaming. They've got nothing to lose by making the pit stop now, and it's just a case of, can you go and gather back up that time again and attack and make that work? So they will be looking around. Joshimus as well will be certainly hoping for a great chance now for it to work. So that will be all about how you stack up and say, where can you find the way through? We know how difficult these restarts have been. We know how difficult it's been for everybody to stand up on a level and say, what can you do? Especially when these restarts have all been too wide and not single file. It's been a lot different to what we've seen in some of the other series that we have run so far. So it has been a tougher order out there at this moment, and I think we should keep it too wide for the way they go, because this has been a chaos fest, and that we have loved. They will have themselves lap 42 of 50 when they restart, and I am just getting word that we're not going to have another one. We're too far into this race. We're going to play it out however it goes between now and the end of this one. Some wonderful racing is going to be there, because it's going to be all about what more can you find. Blueberry on the front with Kamikaze, the unsafety car as unsuspecting as ever. Supreme has pitted, meaning Bedrock is now in 4th, Sparks in 5th, Punju in 6th, and hoping that this is going to be a restart of dreams for many. Strasner still stuck in the pit. It's going to have a long wait to the end of this one, with Joshimus and the like all looking at trying to gain those places. But as we know, these laps are going to be some of the toughest that they find, and this might be the great place where this race is won and lost. The corners that come along next, turn 10A and turn 10B. Just to give life a little bit more difficulty, Joshimus gets the latest of late waiver rounds and is going to go skirting through the gravel to go and take it right as the restart is about to take its hold. So now they're going to have a bit of traffic on the horizon to deal with too. Kamikaze with control of the field. Nick Packin trying to push him through. Green flag in the air, and we get back underway once more. Bedrock Zoo gets a really nice launch on the outside. Blueberry will fall into line. Kamikaze with control through turn 1. Clean through the first 4, 5, 6, but not for Punju, who goes around.
Yeah, I think Punju...
There's Kamikaze!
Kamikaze off,
Bang
yeah,
into the wall!
Yeah, I think he just spun on his own on the curb there, just getting a little bit light on the car. That's so devastating from hero to zero. Once again, we've seen it for so many drivers this race. The tyre temperatures and the skittishness of the car just catches them out every single time.
And Blueberry went around as well, so from the race lead, having that taken into consideration, and safety car went around, Blueberry went around, and Bedrock's got the lead. Sparks is second.
Yeah, Bedrock, I think, parked it on the outside of turn 5 there. We just saw in the background, so unfortunate. And that means that now Bedrock, from leading the race at the start, is now back into lead. Sparks up to P2. We've talked about the consistency, so here we go. Let's see if we can see what happened for Punju. Side by side with Matt 212. I don't think it was Matt 212 though. Let's have a look. It's looking like it might be actually. So 3 wide potentially here. They're going to have a switch around. It was Ryan. Yeah, Ryan tagged just up the inside. A little bit reminiscent of the incident of Supreme and Kamikaze last time out. So that's super unfortunate. Let's see what happened to Kamikaze. So clean air. Maybe a little bit of grass on the tires from that turn 1, but seems to be okay for the moment. Over the curb, a lot of grass. Yeah, on the grass, on the curb. The car lets go, and he's a passenger from there on out, and that is major damage right there.
Yeah, caught the gap right there as it went through, and then there were more dramas to befall as well, because it looked like everywhere you looked there was troubles to befall, including the likes then of Blueberry and those up in front. Ancephalosis, I think, got a push maiden pole. They can see two separate spins going around there as the likes as well of, I believe, Aiden Pole would find a way through. That's the state of your championship leader, by the way, down in the pits for over 90 seconds. Tough day at the office. There's your leading gap at the moment. Bedrock, Sparks, Rhino83, battle on for fourth between Matt 212 and Aiden Pole, who are side by side going to 10A and 10B. And on the brakes in the background, we're not going to see it, but it is Aiden Pole who has been able to get that fourth place and is trying to recover back and gain some points and keep the gap down with Sparks. It'll be very close between those two now for second in the championship, right as it stands, with Bedrock currently leading, second to fourth, not much between it. Rhino83 now flying, fastest lap of the race.
Well, this is an emotional roller coaster of a race, isn't it? Every driver, I think, has been in the lead at some point. At least half of the grid, I can say that much. And we've now got a situation here where Bedrock Kazoo has the pace. Sparks is very happy sitting in P2 at the moment, will collect a lot of points. But Ryan L83, though having caused that incident, I think the car's a little bit damaged, maybe. But he has the ultimate pace. He's got the commitment, and Joshimus now is in the unenviable position of being caught literally by the entire pack, so that one's going to be a little bit interesting. We'll see if he gets out of the way, but yeah, for Bedrock Zoo, that's something that he does not want to see in front of him right now currently.
Well, I would say if I was Joshimus in this position, being put into this position by the producers here as they've gone through, Gareth Allen I will single out for this, I would say, how much money?
Oh, yes, yeah, the negotiation.
Look at that, didn't sorry. Love it, love it. I love the fact that we got amazing graphics here with the Creator Series. Didn't get waved around in time. Sorry. Joshimus then seeing that, he's going to go straight on, and he's going to do the good job of just letting everyone go.
Yeah, he's stopping to have a sandwich right there. It's a good viewing point, to be fair, so I don't blame him. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't think that Surrey is going to be maybe a one-to-one negotiation right there. I think somebody might have lost out a little bit on that one. But Ryan L83 still chasing Sparks as Gareth is struggling to contain his laughter in the background, it must be said. But we've got lots of battles carrying on. Punju now trying to attack and mounted an attack on the unsafety car, so definitely no lift and coast going on here, but it looks like he's got the performance right now and got the maybe just that fire, just that anger right now being taken out a little bit, and wants to just get up the field now.
Well, Nick and Eli know each other very well. Punju and Nick packing in the unsafety car. They'll go by Joshimus then without too many troubles, but this to try and get 7th place. It's going to be close. Oh, it's defended late. And Punju round the outside, overcooks it in the middle of the corner. Now tries to muscle out Nick on the exit as Aiden Pole sets the fastest lap of the race. Oh my goodness, side by side through turn 12. They're going at it. They're not waiting. Oh, they bump on the straight, not once but twice, in towards turns 1 and 2. Nick around the outside. Look at that.
Oh, I was gritting my teeth the entire time. I don't know how they kept that clean. Incredible driving from both of them. Joshimus had the incredibly funny potential of doing the through goes Hamilton there on both of them on the last turn. But it looks like Nick just defending like a lion right now. Punju has the overspeed. Punju has the better line and is just looking for somewhere to go. Going to the outside. This hasn't really worked at all this race, but he might get the cutback, might get the overspeed. Nowhere to have it this time. Nick going really defensive, maybe a little bit of compromise on the exit. It is indeed. Punju will get to the outside. No slipstream though, so there'll be a drag race down to the turn 10 chicane, and they're still bumping on the straight.
Still trying what they can, still hoping for a way that this is going to solve itself, and Punju a lot further alongside this time as they scrap for the apex. Nick throws it in deeper. It's all about drive off the exit. Is there enough to make it happen? The answer is yes, there is. And the throw back down the inside again. They're going to fight for it again. A lot more clearance this time. Oh, they're going to tag once and going to tag twice as they go towards turn one. And Nick tries again around the outside, this time leaning on each other through the corners. Brilliant stuff. There's a great scrap second, third and fourth as it's happening at the moment. Nick just throws the arms out and says, "This mine," but it's still not secure. Still a bit of contact down the hill. Nick somehow holds it, and as it goes, Sparks is under immense amounts of pressure now, because here comes Ryan and Aiden.
I've got to say, that's one of the best bits of racing I've ever seen. So respectful, just to the limit, and everybody wanting to get that track position. That was just absolute 10 out of 10 racing, but we might have more right now. Sparks defending, losing the slipstream to Bedrock Zoo, and Ryan L83 looking to get that position, but just not close enough into the chicane. Aiden Pole right behind, 0.2 of a second right there on the rear bumper of Ryan L83. So Ryan's in the unenviable position of wanting to attack, but also having to defend, and with basically 3 laps to go now, so he's got to make the move now or never.
Punju's bottled it, by the way, at turn 7. He overcooked it into the corner and threw it away. So a shame for him, but it's all about these drivers. 3 laps to figure it out. Sparks, Ryan L83 and Aiden Pole. And remember that Sparks and Ryan L83 are looking at this thinking, this is a huge chance to pull back points to Kamikaze, who is mired in 11th right now, a lap down.
Yeah, indeed. This is going to be just, well, for all 3 drivers here, Aiden Pole, Ryan and Sparks, this is just a huge opportunity, and to get points on each other as well. They're all in a battle for that P2, I'd say, and you know, Ryan may be a little bit further down after having missed a few events, but if he can get up into P2 right now, maybe even challenge for the lead, it's possible. He thought about it. Aiden Pole getting really deep on the brakes, nearly collecting Ryan L83, but nobody locking up. Everybody's got the measure of their car, and look at the overspeed of Ryan. Can he try into turn 1? It's possible. Does he have the confidence to go for it? Can he get alongside it?
Something's wrong with Aiden. Something's wrong with Aiden. He's pulled over to one side. Something's wrong with Aiden Pole's steering wheel or something of the ilk.
I can't believe it. Can you imagine just maybe some technical malfunction? He was going okay into the chicane, so it's all okay for right now. Into the final corner, something doesn't feel right there. He's just wiggling from side to side. So what has gone on right now? Not seeing anything wrong with the car, so it must just be maybe a throttle pedal I'm looking at, because he had no drive in that car. It was just decelerating.
That's crazy. This late on, Aiden Pole just cannot catch a break. And that's going to mean he drops more points, and Sparks will become the biggest challenger out there for the championship to Kamikaze. Ryan L83 has dropped a bit of time. We're down to a lap and a bit to go, and this has become one of those series where you just do not know where you need to look. With Joshima's in the pits as well, Kamikaze is now up to 9th place with the way that this is all played out, and there's some amazing racing coming along in just 7 days' time when we head to Vegas for oval racing. 2 oval races in 2 weeks, because there'll be an Indy 500 that follows that. Ancephalosis with the unenviable position. There's Ryan L83. Watch out! Oh, how have they missed? How have they missed? Ancephalosis just went straight through the gap of the middle. Ryan L83 could see the whites of his eyes seeing that happen as they went through. How that was avoided as an instant, I do not know. He will have one chance to make this happen. It will be 10A and 10B, the gap between them half a second as they work themselves through 6 and through 7. Matt 2-on-2 nearly had second place in a nice neat bow, but for the moment Sparks just trying to break away and do what he can. Here comes Ryan though on the straight, using all the slipstream and power he can muster, but Sparks looks like he's got the measure of it as they head to the 10A 10B braking zone. It's not quite there, but for the driver at the front of the 229, call him Fred Flintstone, because Bedrock Zoo will come to the line and win at Road Atlanta. Sparks will hold for second. Ryan L83 gets a podium.
Who's in 4th as well, as they have a collision on the exit of, on the entry of turn 1. Matt's 212 P4, incredible racing, with Chesnoid all the way up in P5, incredible stuff. The unsafety car has come to blows with Punju. I can't believe it. He's cut the corner and has not worked out. I think he gave the position back out. That was an outrageous move. Come on, unsafety car.
Look, it's on brand for the unsafety car. You can't fault them for that. But ultimately, just trying to say, hey, look, I could have had you there, but it was a tough, tough day for many who were out there trying to get the results sorted, and that is wonderful. So we'll take a little look at encephalosis on the final lap, and I tell you what, the spirit of Nyan Cat was watching on that one.
Let's have a look what happens here. So he just straight lines, basically, trying to get out of the way and bump over the curb, and nearly just RKOs both of them out of nowhere. Incredible stuff.
I have never seen a Dallara P217 create a Randy Orton RKO. That is the closest we have seen that ever from getting its position sorted. We'll get confirmation of result then. Bedrock Zoo will get it all done on debut. Brilliantly done by 4.6 over Sparks with the blushes spared, but critically gains major championship kudos in second position as Ryan L83 would finish off in third. Matt 212 would get fourth with Chesnoy Gaming in fifth. Punju will take sixth ahead of a very perturbed unsafety car in seventh on that battle to the end. Encephalosis will be in eighth position. Kamikaze, for all of what was there, led on the final restart for all of one corner, will be ninth. Blueberry, led on the restart for all of one corner, will be 10th as far as this field goes. Killer Cleo will come around in 11th, and Aiden Pole just 2 laps from the end, having some form of failure on the car, which will be 12th position overall if we can get that flipped over, as Joshima's would be 13th ahead of Supreme and Strasner, making up your 15 cars over the course of racing. Supreme and Strasner being retirees from this race. Right, John, quite simply put, one, breathe. You didn't need 30 cars today to make that exciting. 15 was more than enough.
I think we need to rename the unsafety car to the unsafety car at this point, and we'll just continue adding on until they do a little bit.
If it's an unsafety car, it's a safety car.
Unsafety car. There you go. Solved it.
That's still 6 uns, which means it's still a safety car.
I'm not good at maths. Moving on. Bedrock's just incredible performance. But I think there were so many drivers that could have won that race, and so many things that went wrong. I don't think we'll see a situation like that happen every single time. But what we thought would be maybe a more calm race was definitely not the case today.
So here's the funny story of this race, John. It's the fact that the drivers who started first, second, and third ended up finishing first, third, and second. And it was completely normal and nothing happened in this race at all.
Yeah, it was just, 50 laps behind the safety car. They just swapped positions in the pit stops. Everything was fine. Kamikaze definitely didn't lead the race at one point. No, where to start with that race? For one, I think drivers underestimated the difficulty of the S's. Really, all of those incidents on cold tyres after safety car restarts. We weren't ready for it in the commentary box, that's safe to say, but I don't think the drivers were ready for it either.
No, I don't think they were either. But in terms of being ready for this car, it's one of the toughest cars that we've seen out there try and put together. We completely flipped the script again, as we are going to get a chance to talk to some of our drivers, and one of them being Ryan L83. Ryan, we saw the whites of your eyes when it was on that final lap there with encephalosis shooting the gap. Just talk us through the emotions, because it was an up and down and all around day, and I think you were caught up in just about everything.
Yeah, I mean, I've not been racing for nearly a month, so bit of a reality check today, but completely forgetting how iRacing's cold tyres are with the LMP2s. But my fuel strat actually kind of worked nicely when the second or the first pace car came out, and it came out at slightly the wrong time near the end. Because I would have just got ahead of Aiden before the safety car came out. So, Gareth, I'm looking at you. Thanks for calling it at a really bad time right there. But no. But then when Aiden had his mistake again and I got caught up in it, I just thought, screw it, take new tyres. and just see where I go. So I'm actually surprised I got P3, but shout out to Sparks for a cracking battle at the end there. Just made a mistake on the penultimate lap. That didn't give you the run, but it is what it is. It's good to get back. New pedals as well for this first race. Still got to get used to them. First time load cell pedals after 12 years of non-load cell pedals. So, you know, from the old Radicals days, Jake, as you well know, on there. So, but no, I enjoyed that. It was good fun. And hopefully over the next few weeks, I know it's NASCAR next week at a track that I really like in Las Vegas. Not done it in the NASCARs, done it mostly in IndyCar. So hopefully it should be somewhat similar in terms of speed. But it's good to be back. And everyone had a fun race, and that was the main thing tonight. And shout out to Bedrock for the win as well. And unlucky to Aiden, because I think he should have won the race already today. He just had the pace for out there.
So let's get the tick boxes out. So blaming Gareth, creating excuses for the next race, and saying psychological warfare against other drivers, saying they should have done better. I can say you're setting yourself up for a late championship charge here with those new pedals. So confidence quite high after that, and obviously it feels good to get back to racing. But you know, do you feel like you still have the edge?
Realistically, I'm not going to be in the championship because obviously I didn't do Long Beach because I don't like the track. But then the last 2 rounds I've had some internet issues, so I couldn't race at all. Hence why I've been absent. But the next 2 should be strong for me because I am quite good on oval circuits, especially Indy. But I know Brendan Lichtenberg's going to be up there. He's probably the hot favourite for that one. This was probably one of the strongest ones, just a bit unfortunate with timing with the internet and stuff like that. So I couldn't really practice until probably the 10 minutes before the session went live. So just try to get back up to speed. But yes, from the list you gave, John, apart from obviously beating you in Rally Croatia in WRC. I have to blame Gareth for me not winning this race. So Gareth, thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
There's always a big smile like that. So what we're hearing from you, Ryan, is that the only reason you're not in this championship is because A, your internet doesn't work, and B, your ego's too big.
You could say that.
So
Mainly the internet side of things.
My next question is, how many water bottles did you get through behind you?
Oh, probably about 25, you know.
25. So it was stacked up to the ceiling is what you're saying, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, this office will be flooded probably for the next race or next couple of rounds, you know. So, but no, I mean,
on an oval, interesting.
Indeed, John.
Well, Ryan, the floor is yours. Anybody you'd like to thank? It's a P3 after all of that.
Yeah, to yourself, John. Great commentary as always, and Gareth behind the scenes. Even though I probably don't like him for a couple of days now because of the safety car, but he's done a good job behind the scenes with the broadcast and the series and stuff like that. Punju for probably picking the best combination ever for me, so thank you, Punju. All the drivers who took part, big shout out to Cleo. She's been there, you know, giving me some motivation to race and get the internet working again, so big shout out to her. But to the other drivers who took part, you know, everyone did a great show, and big shout out to Chesnoid as well. We got top 5, I think, so probably driver of the day for me is Chesnoid. So big shout out to him.
Yeah, I'd say he had a very wonderful performance out there. Ryan L83 there, thanking the entire grid pretty much for everything that went on and went through, having a wonderful show of result there. But John, we do need to talk about it. 7 days from now, we will be getting the ovals into play as we head to Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
It's okay, because last week wasn't chaos at all on the ovals. Oh, wait. This might be an interesting one next week, let's put it that way.
Well, anything can happen in the Creator Series, and it already has in terms of how they go. As far as the championship standings look, that looks a lot more manageable for Sparks than it did previously. Kamikaze's gap is down to just 306 championship points. It's back within a race-winning distance, and on the ovals, anything is possible. You can see the likes there of Strasner up to 4th, Aiden Poll is there, and Brendan Hyperstar on 2 ovals coming along back-to-back. could be picking up some big points to make some charges yet still to move to the top 3 of the championship. Matt212 and Supreme continue to hold, and by measure of just turning up, Ancephalosis is in 8th position and is managing to hold those points over Aerotech and Alex Gillen, who is now in that 10th position. So you're certainly seeing how the championship is all looking to stack up. But a wonderful show today then from your entire team, from Gareth Allen behind the scenes, from Josh Harris there, Eyes Amusing, alongside with me, Jake Sperry. This is what Creator Series is about. It's fun, no matter which way you look at it. It doesn't matter if you can drive it, it doesn't matter if you can't. It is always going to be about the chaos that ensues when we get the creators out having all sorts of fun. Your top 3, as they should be. But for the moment, it's Bedrock Zoo who gets the big smile on his face. He takes the win, but Sparks is going to take back some momentum in terms of this championship. 4 rounds to go, and we'll see you next time out at Las Vegas when we get NASCAR racing.